Fallout Equestria Child of the Stars Chapter 7. The list of places that messed with ponies.
I don't see what's so daring about an old legend. Plus, I don't even believe in ghosts.
Sub-level 5. I had seen still no hostiles, nor had I encountered any obstacles. There was no sight of my friends. This place had swiftly risen to the top of my list of places that fucked with ponies. I'd kill for some pre-war abomination, or even a robot, even the fucking security system that actually did its job. Or, more accurately, did it in a way that didn't involve driving me all the way down into the depths of this tomb and as far away from where I'd been separated from Cherry as it possibly could. So much for Corridor 45C, or whatever the terminal had told me to go to. Now, that exchange upstairs just felt like the start of an effort to separate me from Star, and when that trick couldn't take Cherry, well, I wasn't sure what that was. I'd never seen a shield like that before. As for the door, the mere thought of the metal bastard was a target of most of my rage at the moment. On either side of me, the walls were formed from pure white tiles, all pristine. I could see now why some pony may call whatever the fuck was in here a prissy ghost. Ahead, I could see the corridor's end, and through a glass window beside it, I could make out the room beyond. It was far darker, and the path I was taking traversed a vast space via a metal catwalk. Sub-level 6, the words were illuminated by a light of my pip-book as I passed by, and I assumed it meant the floor I was walking above. The room was certainly a vast change from the spotless white laboratories I'd been forced to wander through for what felt like hours, and this new chamber looked far more industrial than scientific. In fact, it was deceptively like my room back in Churn, only a far grander scale. The thick metal walls were lined with pipes and wires. Out over the many catwalks, I could see metal islands arise from the lower levels onto which the vast intricate spiderweb of walkways leading somewhere else inside of this facility. Below, between the bases of the raised platforms, I could make out a great number of crates, as well as droves of machinery, the likes of which looked more like monsters than anything some pony would dare operate. Under the shadowed stilts that held out one of the catwalk islands aloft, I could see several large wire coils. A vast web of black cord snaked out from each, spreading across the room like a great metallic weed. Above, the light trail had died, and yet a faint red glow filled the otherwise dark air. Nothing but pipes, wires, and a gridded metal floor greeted me as soon as I found myself in a tunnel that looked far too much like home. If it had been tighter, I might have thought that some pony was reading my memories to recreate this. Instead, the metal grid on which I stood was held inches above the solid floor. Around me, the room was filled with more lab desks and their respective projects. The lights were beckoning to me once again, and I soon found myself stepping down from the shallow walkway and into the work area. Robots still bound within their hibernation pods watched me like silent sentinels, unmoving as I dispatched several more aimless turrets. On top of one of the desktops, a row of large glass tubes were filled with ragged lumps of flesh, the likes of which had been prodded and prodded with a million different wires, their contents now resembling an electrical pincushion more than anything else. The plethora of sick and just twisted elements only chipped away my emotional shield as I saw something with a better claim to the fact that it was once alive. Beside a shattered tank, amidst the glassed and dried gruel, was the skeleton of a Pegasus strapped to a gore-stained medical table. Opposite of the bones was the body of what appeared to be an earth pony, yet further inspection revealed the severed horn of a unicorn beside it, and my initial assumptions corrected themselves. "We make better ponies," the company slogan flashed through my mind.
Yeah, by cutting them up.
I winced, not wishing to think about the true way to discover the supposed Pegasi telekinesis, then noticed the grizzled bones of a severed wing and just fought not to gag. I was almost thankful that the terminal closest to the experiment was busted. At least curiosity couldn't force me to look into what else it had involved. Primal Magic Test 404 was all a dusted set of notes beside the shattered screen made clear.
Damn, this was like a museum for the insane,
I thought as I passed several more gory jars. These ones held the severed heads of multiple ponies, all of which boasted more electrical testing equipment through skin and bone. Most unnerving to me, however, was the fact that they were all unicorns. If this was the work of the ghost, then I needed to get Cherry and get the fuck out of here. I really couldn't care less about that reward right now. Then, however, I noticed something that was not originally part of a pony, at least I thought it wasn't. Yet the new sight sent more shivers down my spine than anything else from the gory fetishes ever could. Bound within a solid glass tomb, were another form of mechanical exoskeletons, its left and right arms missing. It was big. Bigger than me, bigger than Star. From the way it had been imprisoned in the transparent block, I assumed the two-legged approach was the preferred method of getting about. For all intensive purposes, however, it looked like battle armor from a hellhound or similar creature, yet the spaces between the silver segments that formed its body were far too tight to accommodate something quite that large without flaying at first. Its feet were like that of some sort of demonic mixture of bird and reptile. Its chest a neat collage of sharp metal segments all symmetrically aligned. Its head was by far the most daunting feature. A pair of sharp dragon-like eyes stared down at me with a lifeless gaze. His seemingly closed mouth was unrecognizable in the neat arrangement of metal plates that formed its face and the back of its head. The back of its skull was lined with several fine horns that, within the solid glass, seemed to levitate. In fact, the whole thing seemed to appear as if it were levitating, like some pony was magically holding all of the metal bones in perfect unison. It was as if they were whole, while still mimicking the stature of some natural creature. The image of this thing free and running after me was horrifying, yet the most daunting of it all was the fact that it felt as if the strange metal form were reaching right into me. Into my thoughts. It was angry, and I felt as though an age-old anger, with a malice unmatched, was directed towards me. Not only that, it longed to be free. I felt a feeling of dread unlike any I'd ever felt before surge through me as that realization struck. It was like billions upon billions of lost souls were trying to claw my soul right out of me to join them in eternal damnation. I shook my head. What the fuck? Was that it? The ghost? This thing? It was no more than a glass ornament. Below it was what I assumed to be its other arm, once again lacking the hand, and filled with more wires than a suit of power armor. Beside it were two small cases, each open and lined with a now dusty blue cushioning. The combination locks on them were strange, not something I'd ever seen. At that part, a part of me wished I could ask Cherry about them. Locks did seem to be her passion, and yet...
Don't remind me, Brain,
I grumbled bitterly. There were a few more scraps of the same strange metal, as if some pony had been cutting this stuff up, and to my right was the sickly green glow of a dusty terminal. Great. It was alive, and now I was curious.
You know, curiosity is a death sentence, right?
My wasteland-hardened mind reminded me sternly. I just grumbled something along the lines of,
You would know.
and that seemed to shut it right up. Some pony had left this terminal on before their inevitable demise. 5 of its files had been tampered with, leaving only 2 accessible, and one of which was an audio log. Program prototypes. Complete weapons transferred to Stalingrad facility. Have a nice day. I raised an eyebrow. Some pony was making weapons out of this stuff? Prototype weapons? At those words, I had a feeling that such weaponry had never come to fruition, given that ponies weren't sucking the souls out of each other. At that, I moved on to the second entry, the likes of which had been entered later that same day.
Damn! They've taken them, both of them! That no-good pile of horseapple tail feather up in Stalingrad has them!
A frustrated mare's voice erupted from the speakers far louder than I expected, and I cursed my curiosity with a quiet stream of profanities. If no pony knew where I was, they certainly did now. I even glanced up to the imposing armor within the glass, fearing that even this disturbance would have a bearing down on me. Confirming that wasn't the case, I hit the volume, lowering it as the angry mare ranted on.
I doubt Oracle even knows what they have now. Yeah, sure, you find 1-star metal pillar and start the whole excavation project, but by Luna, the moment you join under another company, you play by their rules, am I right? Not that Mr. Hayland cares about the prototypes anymore, he's too caught up with this covert stuff, and his wife? Well, you can forget about her. You've got more chance getting an appointment with Twilight Sparkle herself than her. That's why I'm sending you this. They'll probably check, but I know you know your stuff. You can keep it from them and add it to your set. With any luck, they'll sack us all by the end of this month, and I can get Moonglow and Starshine to send theirs through us too. Once we make more of these things, we'll be rich. I can think of a lot of ponies who will pay big bits for weapons like these, and a few others that will pay a lot more. We're just relying on you not to slip up with this program. Got it? Don't let me down, Silver. Attached to the log was another file. Prototype Ethereum Blaster Blueprint 2. My Pip-Buck designated it helpfully, flashing the message onto my visor. Well, it was right about one thing.
I needed more of these things, even to have a hope of understanding it. Nevertheless, I downloaded the files. I mean, who knows, maybe it was what our client was after. For some reason, I doubted that as I trotted on diverting my eyes from every new horrific scientific display the room had to offer, until I found myself back in a pure white corridor. The change in scenery was short-lived, and I cursed the goddess that it was not a set of stairs going upward to take me back to Cherry. No, the wasteland just continued to force me down. Ahead, another set of plastic sheets separated the white laboratory walls from what appeared to be another industrial catwalk-strewn room. To my right, directly beneath a lone deactivated turret, was a lit doorway, and that was the direction I promptly chose. My eyes widened as I found myself staring at something all too normal. It was a corridor, pristine and perfect as if the war had never happened.
Still, I don't believe in ghosts,
my mind pressed condescendingly.